Hey everyone, it's Dylan with SeaTee Aquatics, and today we're talking about miscellaneous maintenance. So what is miscellaneous maintenance? Miscellaneous maintenance is any of the maintenance procedures that you want to perform on your tank that don't happen regularly or as regularly as, let's say, daily, weekly, or monthly maintenance. The miscellaneous maintenance is just as important as all of the other types of maintenance, but like I said, it happens a little bit less frequently, and sometimes certain pieces of maintenance aren't necessarily scheduled where it's every 3 months or every 6 months, but more so kind of on an as-needed basis. During our normal daily, weekly, and monthly maintenance, a lot of our maintenance procedures are simple checks in order to make sure that equipment is running properly. If during any one of these checks you notice that a piece of equipment isn't functioning properly, or maybe there is some algae or dirt buildup, maybe even dust buildup on something like some lights, it is important to address these as soon as possible and to make sure that your equipment is cleaned regularly in order to make sure that your tank is running efficiently. Certain devices, such as pumps and heaters, eventually wear out over time, no matter how much maintenance you perform on them. Again, we're in a saltwater environment here, which can be very corrosive on a lot of the parts in the tank. I've had many heaters malfunction over the years, and I have safeguards in place to make sure that the tank is not affected if a heater were to malfunction, and then I get alerts on my phone that will let me know that the temperature is going down if that's the case, so that I know to replace heaters. But these are just fail-safes. It is important to check your devices, like I said, regularly in order to make sure that they are all working properly. And if you notice that anything is starting to get old or wear out, having backups on hand or ordering something as a replacement before a problem arises can be super beneficial instead of waiting for a problem to occur and having it be detrimental. I have a bunch of fail-safes in place so that if a piece of equipment were to fail on me, I would be notified immediately and it shouldn't hurt the tank in any way. But that's also why it can be important to have backups on hand or be ready to replace equipment as needed. Another thing that you should be checking regularly is the growth state of your corals. Some corals are going to grow faster than others, so if you ever notice that a piece of coral is growing too close to other coral, or that it's just getting maybe too close to the glass, or starting to impede the tank flow in some way, trimming back the coral and creating frags can be another piece of miscellaneous maintenance that doesn't necessarily happen on a regular basis, but can happen more so on an as-needed basis. Something else that I typically will do every 3 to 6 months is to reevaluate the cleanup crew population. Cleanup crew is known to slowly dwindle down in numbers over time, and so it's important to monitor this, and as the numbers get lower, to increase the population in order to help keep the tanks as clean as they can be. Something else that I like to check regularly and replace as needed are my RO filters. When working with saltwater, most people are going to make their own saltwater using reverse osmosis water and mixing their salts in. They'll also be topping off their tank with more reverse osmosis water. So keeping an eye on the filters and replacing them as they get dirty becomes super critical. As mentioned, inspecting and cleaning equipment is super important. Even checking for stuff like dust in the fans of lights can help to save from the headache of a light failing in the future. Typically, I find that the dust doesn't build up in my lights fast enough within just 1 month, but it's something to check regularly, at least monthly, and to clean as needed as you notice any dust building up. The same goes for heaters, power heads, pumps, and any equipment in the tank. Over time, they're going to build up deposits of coralline algae, maybe some detritus will get stuck into them, algae, and a bunch of other stuff, so it's important to clean these regularly. Typically I like to do this on a monthly basis, but it's also important to inspect the equipment to prevent catastrophic failures. Something like heaters, over time, from my experience, always end up breaking. Even the best heaters, they may last longer than the cheap ones, but eventually they do end up failing. Checking these regularly to make sure all seals and glass, if you're using glass heaters, are intact, and make sure that the heating elements are working properly. Having backup heaters on hand can be super important, as replacing them quickly can be the difference between nothing happening to the tank and everything in the tank dying, potentially. Replacing heaters on a regular basis also becomes super important. This isn't something that you need to do monthly, I would personally recommend replacing heaters every year to year and a half, as even though they may still have some life in them, these heaters can be used as backups after they've been used extensively. And that way you can ensure that your tank is always going to be heated correctly and staying safe, avoiding any electrical shocks or other issues. Another thing that's important to check regularly is the seals on your tank. Over time, seals do tend to wear out. I've personally never had a seal break on a tank, but from what I have read online and seen, seals over time, the silicone becomes more brittle, and there's always a chance that some water can start to get through. Some manufacturers are known to only last 5 years, where other tanks may last 10 to 20 years. That all depends on, again, the manufacturer. So it's important to just keep an eye on your seals and make sure that nothing is getting damaged or looking like it may be ready to leak. If you notice that a seal is getting thin or brittle or starting to come off of the tank, you can be a little bit more proactive, potentially drain the tank down partially to fix the seal, rather than at some point the seal failing and you finding out by your house or office building flooding, which can cause a lot more damage and be a lot more detrimental than just losing the fish in your tank. So checking seals becomes critical. Doing these checks and following the miscellaneous maintenance guide will help you to stay on top of the aspects of your reef tank that may not require as much attention, but are still super critical in your long-term and overall success in keeping your tanks. Remember that the specific needs of any reef aquarium may vary, so the frequency at which you do anything in miscellaneous maintenance can greatly vary as well. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed what you saw in today's video. And remember, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications to join us on our journey through the sea. Or drop a comment below and let us know what you thought of the video. Thanks for watching.